everybody, thanks for joining us today. Welcome in if this is your first video, welcome back if it is not. Either way, we are so thankful that you are here with us, and we are so grateful that you are spending just a little bit of your day with us today. This is my co-host Killian, who was just too curious about the new background to stay in the bedroom. He couldn't handle it. You want to say hi, buddy? Yeah. He wanted to say hi to everybody. So today we are going to talk about my trip to Disney World during COVID. So I just want to tell you guys a little bit about what it was like, what the experience was like. I bet a lot of you are thinking about traveling soon. I know we are coming up on sort of the year anniversary of the pandemic. I bet a lot of us are getting kind of antsy, right? We're ready to travel again. We're ready to get out of the house. I think we're getting a lot of good news sort of out of California, out of Disneyland. So they've got the food festival coming up, which I really wish I could be at. Sounds really amazing. As well as we've got some news this week that the governor says that Disneyland and all theme parks can open on April 1st. No word from Disneyland yet exactly how they're going to handle that, but things are looking good. So, I'm sure a lot of us are kind of itching to get back to the parks or itching to travel again. And so I thought that maybe just sharing a little bit about my experience in Walt Disney World during COVID might help you kind of decide maybe what's best for you. So if you want to hear about my experience, then let's get started. I'm Rachel. This is Killian, and this is Attainable Disney.
Yay!
A couple of, I hate the word disclaimers, but a couple of, disclaimers before we start this video. So I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor, not a medical professional. I can only talk about my personal experiences. And so obviously when you're making a decision like this to travel during COVID, or really to do anything during any type of public health emergency, I mean, you need to think about sort of the medical and the health implications of that. And so obviously you need to consult with your doctors and you need to take their advice. So I'm not telling you to go on the trip or not to go on the trip. I'm just going to tell you about my experiences, and hopefully that will help you decide if this is something that you want to pursue or not pursue. Okay. I'm also not the COVID police. I am not here to tell you if it's the right thing to do morally, or if you are going to look for loopholes, or you're going to look for ways to not follow the rules or the regulations, or you're going to try to sneak around them. If you're not interested in being as safe as possible to keep everyone safe, then don't go. Don't be a jerk. Okay? That's all I can say. First thing we did when we traveled, we took Spirit, right? Because it was cheap. We did, however, we treated ourselves to the big upfront seats. So if you have ever flown Spirit, or if you ever looked at Spirit, you've noticed that the first 2 rows of all of their airplanes are only 2 seats, right? So most rows of airline seats are 3 seats. On Spirit, the first 2 rows are only 2 seats, right? So there's 8 big seats, right? And they're just kind of big recliners, almost like you'd have in your house. They are actually quite comfortable, and they are bigger, and they are so not only is the chair bigger, but you have more room sort of in front of you, more leg room. They're really great. And so we decided that was probably worth the extra $40 a seat or whatever it was. It's usually $40 or $50, simply because we didn't want to have to sit with anybody else. So by sitting in the row that was only 2 seats, we didn't have to sit with a stranger. So that felt like a safe bet for us. It's just a bonus that it was super comfortable. Like I said, they were the first rows on the plane. So even though we had the right to sort of board the plane in zone 1, the first group or whatever, we actually ended up boarding almost last, so that way sort of everybody was already in their seat. We didn't want to be sitting in those first couple seats while everyone boarded and like everybody walked past us and like everybody, you know, bumped into us and whatever. So we just kind of chilled in the, you know, at the gate until almost everybody was on board, and then we got on so that not everybody had to walk past us. So that worked out really well for us. We actually liked those seats so much we probably will end up spending that money again, just because they were like comfortable and awesome. And who wants to sit next to strangers? So I also, we broke a cardinal rule of attainable Disney travel is we stayed on property. I know. So a couple reasons we stayed on property. So one was mostly just because I wanted to stay within the Disney bubble. So I had done a lot of research before this trip, and I felt really comfortable with the precautions and the protocols and the rules that Disney had in place, but not necessarily the state of Florida. And so I did not really want to be staying at like an outside hotel and kind of having to be going back and forth, right? So normally I like staying at outside hotels because it gives you access to like the outside world and like outside restaurants and things like that that can make your trip cheaper. But in these times, and where I'm trying to sort of limit my cross-contamination, or like limit my contact tracing, right? I didn't want to have to come into contact with lots of different places and lots of different restaurants and lots of different Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, right? Like I wanted to keep it sort of contained. And so staying on Disney property where I really knew the protocols and I really felt comfortable with them made sense to me. Also, they had a Disney Visa card member discount going on, and we got the room for like 40% off. It was actually like an insane deal. Still incredibly expensive, but it was like 50% off. But again, 50% off a very expensive room is just like kind of high, right? So I mean, it still wasn't cheap, right? I mean, it's not something I need to do all the time or whatever, but I think under the circumstances, it did feel like the right decision for us. We did stay at Caribbean Beach, which gave us sort of direct access to the Skyliner, because we were going to be spending most of our park days at Hollywood Studios. I really liked the idea of the Skyliner because I knew that we would get our own Skyliner bucket, or I don't know what they call them, gondola, our own Skyliner cab, which again, just from like a transportation perspective, would sort of limit our access, limit our contact with other people. So that made sense to us. Those were some of the logistics. So I'm sure everyone knows by now that to get into the parks, you have to have a reservation. So here's what I'll say is that when we first booked the trip, we wanted to spend all of our days at Hollywood Studios. Like that was our priority, was to go to Hollywood Studios. And there were 0 Hollywood Studios days available, right? They were all the days that we were going to be there. They were all blocked out. So we made plans to go to other parks. And I checked back every single day. I mean, maybe not every day, but like I checked back probably most days, and eventually was able to score one. I actually scored 2. Actually, we were able to get 2 days in Hollywood Studios. That was really exciting. So I would encourage you, if you have a park reservation and it's maybe not the one you wanted, or you feel like you missed out on something, you know, just keep checking back. Those things aren't written in stone. I think people's plans change, right? People cancel, whatever. You know, I think that the closer it got, I think that they opened some up. Like I think they moved some reservations maybe from like the pass holder bucket to the ticket holder bucket, or the resort bucket to the AP bucket, whatever, right? So I think they move them around a little bit as it gets closer. So anything is possible. So definitely always keep an eye on that. So we were able to sort of rearrange those and get Hollywood Studios just like we wanted, which was really exciting. We were able to wake up at 7 o'clock and do our Rise of the Resistance boarding group right from our hotel room, which we've been to Disney World a few times since Rise of the Resistance has opened, and we've never really pursued a boarding group. sort of what those crowds were like at 7 in the morning. You know, when you had to be in the park to get those boarding groups. And like, I'm just not about it. Those crowds, no, not doing it. We had just kind of always, like, we just kind of talked about it, and we always just thought, like, so we would go and just kind of like walk around Galaxy's Edge and just sort of like be in it and experience it, which we loved and was very like fulfilling. And we're like, we'll just wait. I mean, maybe it'll just be a year or two until, I don't know, you know, until the hype dies down a little bit. I don't know. So real big COVID win for us that you were able to do that from the hotel room, because right on the first day, we were able to get a Rise of the Resistance boarding group. I think, and it was a really early boarding group. I think it was like 16, like 11 or something. Like, it was a double digit. I mean, it was like a really early boarding group. So, okay, so here's what I think I'm gonna do, guys. I think I'm gonna split this up into 2 videos because I want it to be like consumable and easy to watch. I don't want it to be overwhelming. So I'm gonna stop here. And I'm gonna make a second video. I'll probably just upload them like 2 days in a row. So that way it's easy to find and easy to remember. But yeah, I don't want it to be like too long. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna upload another one tomorrow. So make sure that you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you know when that one comes up tomorrow. I would love to know what you guys think. What questions do you have for me? You can leave them on this video or leave them on tomorrow's video. Either way, I will make sure to, you know, I'll make sure to answer them in the comments, like if I don't hit it in either video. So please let me know what questions you guys have. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.